Imagine if you lost 20, 30, 40, or even 50 pounds or more right away. Would you be more attractive to the opposite sex? Feel better? Sleep better? If you've tried to lose weight in the past and repeatedly failed, then you need to know about a true game-changer medication. Semaglutide is FDA approved. It can produce quick and easy results. Call the number on your screen now for free info. This is the last diet you'll ever go on. Finally lose the weight and keep it off. There's no pain, no surgery, no exercise plan, no starvation, no fasting, no silly meal prep. In fact, you can continue to eat the foods you love. Pause this screen and take down this number or store it in your cell phone. But call today for free information. The Advanced Medical Weight Loss Program is physician-based and works with your body naturally to create the feeling of being full. This is not just about losing weight. This is about what your life can become as a thinner you. Call the number on your screen now for free info. Finally lose the weight and keep it off. Look great this summer, but hurry. There's a huge demand for this product and shortages may occur at any time. Call the number on your screen now for free information.
Welcome to the Turnpike Sports Spotlight. Dave Weishaupt with you. I can't wait to hear about the incredible things our next guest is going to talk about. He is the co-founder of a company that created a groundbreaking platform for something that I think is pretty popular in this country. Full Pool Entertainment is revolutionizing the world of truck and tractor pulling. We're going to hear all about Full Pool because on the line we have the co-founder and CEO of Full Pool Entertainment, Chase Richardson. Chase, welcome to the show.
Hey, Dave. Thanks for having me on, and excited to enlighten you and some others on the greatest sport in the world that people don't know about, truck and tractor pulling.
Well, I got to tell you a little story. I was starting to tell you off air, but you know how I found out you were coming on. I was driving a couple of weeks ago here in New Jersey, and I was driving through a town called Columbus, New Jersey, a lot of farmland, and they were having a fair, and they had a sign on it, and they said one night we're having a tractor pull, and I was thinking I'd love to see that in person because I've never seen one live. Unfortunately, it was like I told you, it was 2 days before I saw the sign, so I missed it, and I told our producer, you know, there are tractor pulls in the area, and we got to check one out. And that's when the producer said, you're not going to believe who's coming on that you can talk about this stuff about, and it's Chase Richardson. And I got to tell you, I love the whole idea behind Full Pool Entertainment. I mean, how did this company come into existence? Were you sitting around talking with friends? Were you talking with other people in the industry and decide to do something like this? I mean, how did Full Pool Entertainment come into being?
Yeah, Dave, and it's funny you say that about your experience of driving through and seeing a tractor pulling event. This sport's been around in our country. It started in the United States for 75 plus years, and there's literally thousands of these events take place in throughout the country. From California as far east as Jersey, and even in further north, Washington State and Florida. It covers the entire globe of the country, but like a lot of sports, there's a lot of different levels to it. Similarly, I like to compare it. It's totally different in concept, but baseball. There's baseball games being played all the time all summer. There's Major League Baseball. There's youth baseball. There's youth tractor pulling. There's rookie league baseball. There's independent leagues. Like there's these baseball games going on everywhere, and similar to tractor pulling, where there's distinctive highest levels where the investment of the competitors and the competition and the fans in the stands are much more higher and significant. But there's also, there's where I'm from here in central Kentucky, south central Kentucky, there's 15 minutes. There's a tractor pulling facility that every Saturday of from Memorial Day to Labor Day, there's youth tractor pulls where kids go and tractor pull. So it's not baseball, but it's similar in that regard. And back to your question about how this all started, I was brought into this sport by birth. My grandfather started this years ago, and my dad, I think, got into it at age 11, and it's been just kind of something that's naturally been in my blood, fortunately. Growing up as a kid, I was very involved in basketball and other sports, and my loves were basketball and tractor pulling. And when you're a kid telling your buddies about tractor pulling, sometimes you're like, what's wrong with this guy? But once people give it a chance and take it in and take an understanding to it, it really sells itself. So Full Pool Entertainment was essentially just a passion project for me and a couple others where, this sport's kind of been, not saying leveled off, in terms of the in-person attendance. There's multiple events where it sees, up to 50, 60,000 people attend them, believe it or not, in the summertime. But in terms of the messaging around it, there's a lot of people that don't know how cool this sport is. And, it literally started as, how can we make this bigger? And people, I'm not the only one in this. There's a ton of people that are involved in this sport. They're extremely passionate about it, that do a lot, that put on their own events, do other things. And, this just was really sit around and having a few beers, to be honest about it. And we're like, why can't tractor pulling be like horse racing? And that's kind of where the idea came from. And it's not horse racing. It's not currently horse racing, but conceptually, in terms of, having fan engagement where, through the ability to put cash on the outcome of some category like a horse race, like we're able to do that now. And then with doing that, there's a lot of other things that have to be elevated within the sport. And we've got into streaming, which was not on the roadmap at all, but it's gone extremely well. And 1 month into a summer season, we're really moving the needle in terms of the messaging and the perception around the sport at this point. So I guess that was the long answer. The quick answer is it was really just a passion project, Dave.
Well, I'm very curious, because when you were creating Full Pull Entertainment, who were your target audience? I mean, certainly fans of truck and tractor pulling could spend hours on your app and on your website, but were you hoping to attract newer fans and people curious about the sport like me to truck and tractor pulling? What was the marketing plan behind the app and the platform? It's
a very good question. And we talk about this daily as our team. I mean, Full Pull Entertainment, it started with me and a couple others. Now we have a full staff of, up to almost 10 people in the summertime, and we're meeting regularly. But, two really big things to it, Dave. The first is, this sport, in terms of audience, and, when you talk about growth for a sport, a lot of it's drawn back to revenue and money being brought in from a sponsorship standpoint. And there are very loyal sponsors and good sponsors, but not really that next step of sponsorship that really kind of takes you to another level. And a big reason for that is, in the current climate and the age we live in 2024, despite some of these events having, an average attendance of 7,500 up to, 60,000 people in a weekend, the digital presence of the sport has not been very, it's, I don't mean this in a bad way. It's really been non-existent in terms of, putting a number of people that really follow the sport. And so a big thing that came out of this is, okay, first we have to put all these fans that are out there. We know they're there, they come to these events, but they're not watching the stream. They're not watching it digitally. We got to get all these people in the same universe somehow. And the streaming and some of the things we've done with streaming has kind of allowed that. So the first thing was organizing the fans into one place that nobody really knows how many fans there are. We're starting to learn, but getting all that together while at the same time growing this sport and bringing it to new eyeballs. And, the gaming aspect of it is really the driver to that from our standpoint. And the sport itself is extremely bettable. I can get into that later with you, but
absolutely.
Those two things are kind of the guides of what we're doing. Firstly is trying to just get our audience in one place that exists. And then secondly, grow an audience to people like yourself and others that don't know, because you look at a lot of other sports that are kind of, this is niche and it's not new, but I use the reference to pickleball, how it's kind of came in a wave the last few years, right?
Yeah.
Well, pickleball had a lot of great strategies and initiatives behind it to get where it is now. It's kind of it's not mainstream, but it's a pretty popular niche sport. But the difference between pickleball and our sport, pickleball didn't have 10,000 people in a venue watching it. So it's a lot of it's about messaging. And if you get the messaging right and get people in there, it really sells itself, we believe. And so far, our belief is showing, accurate.
Now, for someone like me who's really learning more and more about this, I went on your site and it seems like you're certainly covering the truck and tractor pulling world in the most complete way that I've ever seen. Because I've never seen anything like this for truck and tractor pulling, because you have some of the biggest and recognized pulling leagues in the country as partners, really. What are the leagues that people will see when they log on to your platform?
Yeah, so we have a partnership. There's three primary leagues, I guess, that kind of operate
Mm-hmm.
the landscape of truck and tractor pulling in the U.S. From a role standpoint, and just insurance is a big thing, and kind of how if you and I wanted to go start a tractor pull tomorrow in our local town, we could do it, but a big part of what we need to do is insurance and regulation and
Sure.
like a safety standpoint. So these organizations bring that forward, and it's kind of an umbrella effect overall. But the National Tractor Pullers Association is the most historic, longest standing organization. That's kind of the flagship. It is the flagship of truck and tractor pulling. The biggest events, the biggest attendees, all fall at these National Tractor Pulling Association events. So we have a partnership with them. We're actually doing all their live streaming right now, and have all the media rights to stream for them. But it's more of a partnership. It's not us. We're not a Fox Sports coming in with no ties to the sport to buy these rights. Like, we're working hand in hand with that organization, the Outlaw Truck and Tractor Pullers Association, which primarily covers more west of the Mississippi River, more of the western part of the globe, but also have a similar type relationship with those guys, and we'll be streaming their events. Also, both these organizations are essentially stakeholders in the gaming part of it, the full pull picks part of it, because we want to have the opportunity to, for competitors and the stakeholders and the people that make the decisions to help us grow this. We need everyone together, and as it grows, we want them to be rewarded for it. So they position themselves within all this where they're a stakeholder in as well, which is exciting and, kind of keeps everybody pulling the same rope.
Well, you mentioned streaming. Tell us about your video feed on the platform. I think it's called Full Pull Live. I think it's an incredible thing for fans of the sport and people who are new to it like me. I mean, tell us about how people can watch truck and tractor pulls on Full Pull Entertainment, and also how often are the events streamed on your platform?
Yeah, so the pulling season, pulling is primarily a summertime sport in terms of the large events. Call it from the June 1st to then, towards the end of September, you have pulling pretty well every weekend around these large events. When I say large events, the biggest ones with the largest attendance. Every weekend, minus this 4th of July weekend, next weekend, there will be some type of event on Full Pull Live is the platform.
Okay.
It's on Roku, Fire Stick, all major streaming devices, as well as we have an app on Android and iOS devices that's just the Full Pull app where you can download it. Within the Full Pull app itself, there's a tab for Full Pull Picks, our gaming platform, as well as our Full Pull Live platform. But it's subscription-based, monthly subscription. Once you sign up, you can watch it unlimited throughout the month, and it gives you access to, archives of old footage and so forth. And our plan is, and our goal is, this sport's primarily, like I said, from June to end of September, but there are events October, November, January, February, March that don't get the exposure, that have never really gotten the exposure ever out of season, that we plan to hopefully work with and make this somewhat of a year-round sport as much as we can, where, the enthusiasts and people that really enjoy this can always watch pulling at least, 8 months out of the year. So Full Pull Live is the platform. And also it's a website as well, fullpull.live. If you just want to do it from a typical web browser, but pretty accessible, very easy to use. And the quality of the stream, I think everyone, it speaks for itself when tuned in.
Now, you mentioned Full Pull Picks, and I actually went to fullpull.us, and that was like the first thing I saw, Full Pull Picks, where people can actually win money picking winners at tractor pulls, which is an incredible idea. Tell us about that, and how can people actually go about winning money on tractor pulls?
Yeah, so this is Full Pull Picks has been a couple-year process to get launched. It is unique. There's not another product like it in market. Similar to a DraftKings or a FanDuel type contest, pre-2018, it is a game of skill. So it's not against the house type format where, the users putting their cash up against a house. It's players or users versus users conceptually, where, you, based on statistics, you pick a couple of entries within a class category, and you put your stake of what you think, similar to like a horse race, how much you want to put at stake for these competitors you're placing these entries on, and essentially you're putting your two against everyone else's other two, and from there it's adjusted payouts, similar to horse racing conceptually, but it is a unique fantasy game of skill that's never been in market before, and the gameplay itself is really, really cool, and I think it's got a lot of opportunities beyond just truck and tractor pulling in terms of just fan engagement. So, but conceptually, pick two competitors within a class category. Those, if your two compile the most distance, distance statistics that's accumulated, then you win cash, and all that's posted within the platform. And once you place your entry, there's a tab where you can keep up with your my picks, where the payouts are continuously moving until the contest starts, but you can always see what your payout's going to be once the contest begins, which is really cool.
Now, I'm sure everyone listening heard that you can actually win money on tractor pulls. I'm pretty sure everyone's ears just picked up now and they're pretty curious about now more than ever truck and tractor pulling and full pull entertainment. Take us through the process. How would someone go about winning money on tractor pulls through full pull entertainment? Is it through the app? Would we go to online? Take us through, if I want to place some money on a tractor pull, take me through that process.
You're asking as if you're going to place some cash up, Dave.
I'm
curious.
When
you get you signed up.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so it's very simple. If you want to go through a web browser, you can go to fullpullpicks.com, which takes you to the main page. That can be done on desktop or phone, or on our app I mentioned earlier, Full Pull app. There's a tab there as well that takes you to the Full Pull Picks platform. Just like any other gaming platform, you'll have to sign up, get registered, give some information out. When you're taking people's cash, it's not just as easy as just getting there and getting their emails. There are some KYC and other requirements, and also geolocation requirements. We're currently approved in 17 states. Those states are listed on the platform. That number should grow, I think, by 2 to 3 within the next couple of weeks. Continue to just chip away as time goes on, but currently live in 17 states. And if you're within those states, you get to the platform just like any other gaming platform. You have a wallet, you add funds, credit card or debit card. Once you get it added, you have a wallet. The minimum entry to a contest is $5, the maximum is $1,500. And if you win, when you win, you can withdraw your money anytime. It's pretty simple conceptually, just like all gaming platforms. And, like I said, the deposit method right now is currently credit and debit card. Withdrawal is directly to bank accounts. Hopefully within the next 60 days, maybe less than that, you'll have the ability to withdraw directly to your debit card. We're still working on that technology currently, but it's fullpullpicks.com or via the Full Pull app. And once you get set up, get a username and do a deposit, you can make a side hustle gig like Dave's going to soon do as soon as you get going.
Well, let me tell you something. I was going to ask you, what states are these available in, just for purely selfish reasons, because I wanted to see if New Jersey was available. So because I'm going to hop on this thing, because I love what you guys are doing. I love that you're embracing the new technology, and I love how, when they call fan engagement, it's such a great way to get involved in a sport and to learn about a sport.
Absolutely. Unfortunately, right now, Dave, New Jersey is not one. It is on our roadmap, but I would say by tail end of 24, early 25, Jersey is. We have a number of states we're just kind of prioritizing based on fan base, and even though I know you're now an enthusiastic tractor pulling fan, I don't know how many other.
It's within 10 miles of me.
We have with you right now.
Now that I know it's within 10 miles of me. Yeah, now I'm a fan. Now I got to check it out.
Yeah, no, but the states we're currently in is Alaska, California, Georgia, Illinois, Kentucky, Minnesota, Nebraska, New Mexico, North Carolina, North Dakota, Oklahoma, Oregon, Rhode Island, South Dakota, Texas, Utah, and Wisconsin. And like I said, the next couple of weeks, I highly anticipate we'll have at least 3 more states added.
Well, I got to tell you, that gives me time to learn about the sport. And whenever I find out there's a way to win money on a sport that I'm interested in, I want to learn as much as possible about the sport so my picks have some kind of reasoning and thought process behind them. And one of the ways I learn about a sport is listening to podcasts. And I think you guys do a great job of educating people about truck and tractor pulls because you guys have a great podcast about the sport. Tell us about the podcast and where people can listen to that.
Yeah, it's funny. So I don't think I've mentioned this. I'm actually a competitor within the sport in a highly popular class called the mini rod class. These things are Google mini rod pulling tractor wherever you are listening to this, and I think that'll tell you the story about how wild these things are. They're small little vehicles that with 3,000 plus horsepower that weigh 2,000 pounds, and it's not pretty well anytime there's an event going on, you'll see one of these things upside down or wreck or. Nobody, as a competitor, nobody really likes to do that. But as a fan, they definitely put on a show. But
yeah,
myself and two of my really good friends in the class, there's a lot of colorful people. I could do a whole nother segment with you on the cultural dynamic and the personalities of truck and tractor pulling. You see these Netflix series on F1 racing or golf. Those are different levels of personalities. But I think if we ever had our own show for tractor pulling, we would blow them all out of the water because there's just so many colorful, successful people that make this sport up. But this podcast was myself and two of my friends that compete. They're fellow competitors in the class I compete in. That we're always having a good time before and after events, and we're all friends behind the scenes. We want to beat each other's tails when we're competing against each other. But away from there, we're just regular guys that like to have a good time. Typical 30-year-old men. But the idea was brought up, like we all, just like myself, a passion project of starting Full Pool Entertainment. We've always said, like, people just need to know about us and know what we do. And, this will help, little things like this will help grow the sport. We didn't invent the concept of podcasts and the value of what that brings to enterprise and certain businesses and sports. So we're really just doing what other people do, and started this out was just kind of doing it casually. And, it's turning. We do it every other Wednesday. It's called the No Practice Podcast, which I'll explain the title here shortly. But every other Wednesday, and we started last October. And as of last week, we had a live show around an event, which is was the second time we've done this, and we had a couple hundred people there in person watching that were just fans. And I think I haven't looked in the last couple of days, but like our viewership was 30,000 plus amongst all the platforms, downloads, and everything. So it started out with a few hundred people. Now it's actually, we're selling merchandise. We have fans, and we don't take ourselves that serious. But it's almost like we're letting people down if we don't do this all the time. So it's been a ton of fun. But we do try to, while having fun, and show the personalities of truck and tractor pulling, educate people like yourself about the sport. And anybody that has tuned into our podcast, I don't think has walked away and said that sport's dumb or, that's not worth listening to, because, the numbers speak for themselves in terms of how it grows. And it's called the No Practice Podcast because one of the cool things about truck and tractor pulling that you'll find interesting here, Dave, that's different than any other sport that we know, and we always invite people to reach out to us if they can suggest otherwise. But truck and tractor pulling is the only sport in the world where you cannot practice, not because you're not able to, but
I guess you can.
Because you're pulling a pulling sled, which a guy can invest and buy a pulling sled, but that sled is so highly technical and how it's set up, and how those operators are very brilliant, like making sure we're always going around 350 feet in distance, because that's typically the playing field's 350 feet. If you go past 350, it's a pull off, what we call a pull off. But those operators go to all these different venues and they adjust those sleds to make sure we're always within 350 or so, which brings a whole nother conversation about competitors adjusting and the amount of skill that goes into it. But back to my point about practice, you can't simulate it at anywhere. So if I wanted to build a pulling track outside my house, buy a sled and do all this, do all that, like I could go make sure my engine runs and make sure that there's nothing falling off of it. But in terms of improving my skill to win a competition, it's impossible to do. It's just, and that's what the beauty of truck and tractor pulling is. Like, these are like incredible skilled athletes that are doing this, because you can't there's never an opportunity to practice. You just have to take good notes, and you got one shot to do it, which from a motorsports standpoint, you look at drag racing and circle racing like F1, NASCAR, those guys go practice all the time. Well, you can't practice in tractor pulling. So we've kind of branded the no practice deal, and that's why we're called the no practice podcast.
I got to tell you, I love your website because it's just packed with information about the world of truck and tractor pulling. And by the way, before I go to my first live tractor pulling event, I will go to your website and I will buy a T-shirt and wear it so I look appropriate in the stands when I go there. But I also noticed on your website that you have a picture of a tent that you have at a live tractor pulling event. Do you guys go to a lot of the truck and tractor pulling events across the country? And can people expect to see the full pull entertainment tent when they go to some of the bigger pulling events in the U.S.?
Yes, for sure. Mm-hmm. As I mentioned earlier, the partnerships we have with the organizations, the National Tractor Pullers Association and Outlaw Truck and Tractor Pullers Association, they're stakeholders in growing this, and particularly on the full pull picks gaming side of things. So naturally, opportunities to grow our user base and get more people engaged are at these events in person. As I mentioned earlier, the attendance is amazing at these venues, but we need to somehow cross those people over where when they leave that event, they're still engaged via streaming or, our gaming platforms, which is working, to this point. But yes, we always have event space. Whenever you're at one of these events, you'll hear announcer shout outs, you'll hear updates on odds and,
really, wow.
Where to sign up. Yeah. I mean, not quite as much as we want to right now. We're still working through some of that. This is all new. Like, obviously, myself, I would like for it to look like a horse race when I walk in there, but I don't think everyone's quite ready for that. But we do have a large presence there, and we are co-branded and have strong partnerships with all these organizations that we're very proud of. And this is new. It's changed. But, I think through time, you're going to see more and more adaptation of, when you go to a tractor pull, you're going to watch, you're going to have fun, but you're going to be engaged with, gaming and, having the opportunity to place your cash on your skill as a user. So, those national events full pull is at the largest national events. You can find all that online. And, we plan to just continue to grow this to all levels of pulling, but we're starting at the top to get going with.
Like you said, truck and tractor pulling has been around for about 75 years, and what you guys are doing is taking modern technology and bringing it to the sport. And when anyone does that in the sporting industry, it tends to get the attention of sports betting operators, especially when they have contests where fans can win money on the sport. Is that in your near future, making deals with sports betting operators and having truck and tractor pulling on the menu of sports books in this country?
I think everything's on the table. As people learn about this sport, I think it's going to sell itself for a lot of opportunities that weren't prior to all this. As I said earlier, I've been going to tractor pulls my entire life, and I would say 75 to 80% of people that are there in the stands at some time or another have illegal wagered, as we'll call it, with their buddy on, hey, what do you think this guy's going to do? Because the sport just lends itself so much to gaming and gambling and wagering. One guy goes at a time. You have a 2 to 3 minute pause between the next guy going. Like, it's just everything about it, especially from a motorsports standpoint, is set up for gambling and wagering. So I think through time, everything's on the table, but this is a crawl, walk, run process that we're still crawling and still following every now and then, but we're starting to stand up, and I think we'll be walking here soon. And I think the sport, once we get people in and understand what's going on here and the messaging gets around, I think there's all kinds of opportunities on the table.
Another great thing you guys are doing is really combining media with truck and tractor pulling through your streaming and also through your podcast. What are your plans regarding media? Do you want to make deals with an ESPN or a Fox Sports to bring truck and tractor pulling to a wider audience?
Yeah, I mean, my goal personally, which this isn't all totally up to me, I have to others involved, but I would like this sport to, right now the competitors that are in it, it's strictly a hobby, that they're passionate about. They don't do it for money. They don't do it for a living. They do it because they love it. If we can somehow get this sport to where people are actually doing this for a living and there's people making careers of working on pulling teams and, helping build engines in these vehicles like they do in drag racing and NASCAR and F1 and other mainstream motorsports, I think that's that's my personal goal with all this. And if we get to that point, I think it's going to take the likes of expanded media and, it's all about eyeballs and viewership. So anything that will help us get to that point, I think is on the roadmap and a personal goal of mine.
So what's next for Full Pool Entertainment? I mean, what do you have plans in the coming months or in the coming year? What can fans expect when they log on to your platform on Full Pool Entertainment?
Yeah, so we have one gameplay right now. So for on the Full Pool pick side of things, we have one gameplay available right now. This just launched within the last couple of weeks, and I think we'll be launching another gameplay, another type of game of skill within the next couple of weeks that I think people really like, maybe even more. I'm curious to see. Internally we have mixed feedback on which game fans or users will like, but regardless, we're going to continue to build that, and we have another, a third gameplay that's kind of down the road probably. We don't want to overwhelm our users too much right now, but continue developing that. When you build something new, this is all proprietary property of us that we built ourselves, so we want to always try to improve and make it take feedback from users and make it the best functioning gaming app that we can possibly have. That will never change. That's always there. Then I mentioned earlier, but continuing to get into new states particularly with a lot of pulling background and fans, I think are the short term goals for Full Pool picks. And I think this thing will eventually just snowball where it gains more and more momentum, and we're kind of centered around a couple main organizations and, some are more high profile events, but ideally I think, we can get to a place where we're covering events just about anywhere, in a calendar year. So all that's kind of the short term for the gaming side and the Full Pool pick side. On the streaming side, I alluded to earlier, our user base is significantly higher than the previous streaming that was offered for pulling. And I think that'll continue to grow. We want to make it where it's a good quality product that people, it's a subscription base. So when people are paying to watch something, you want it to be the best possible, stream it can be. And, we've continued to get better with it each week. Our numbers are showing that. And I think by the time we get to the end of September, we're going to be sitting in a good place in terms of just the whole initial goal of building an audience in one place that we can, take to the organizations can take and we can take as, our existing viewership audience. And then, as I said earlier, the outside of September, there's polling that goes on year round, at least 8 months out of the year. I think it's on the horizon, and there'll be some announcements within the next month where this is going to be a year round platform where after September, polling's not over. You're still polling going to be watched and viewed, October, November, January, February, March. So that's kind of the short-term goals, and signs point to all that being able to successfully get done. We have a great group of people that are behind the scenes that make all this happen, and you get enough good people together, I think anything can happen. And at this point, we're very pleased with where we are with all this.
Chase, we're running out of time, but can you give out a website and a way to download the app so people can really get involved in the world of truck and tractor pulling?
Absolutely. Fullpool.us is our main website where you can access Full Pool Picks, the gaming platform, or Full Pool Live, our live stream platform. Additionally, Full Pool Picks has its own domain, fullpoolpicks.com. The live stream domain, fullpool.live, is the web browser way of accessing the streaming platform. And then also, as I said earlier, iOS and Android devices, the Full Pool app is available for download. Within that app, you can keep up with results, schedules, access Full Pool Picks, access Full Pool Live for live streaming, all in one place, which is convenient. And it's also a place when you make your picks at events, there's live resulting, not via stream, but live resulting also lives in this app around these events. And then on streaming Roku, and other streaming devices, Full Pool Live is available for download as well to watch. So we're pretty available. Just look us up, and I think you will not be disappointed if you take a dive in.
Chase Richardson, co-founder and CEO of Full Pull Entertainment, thank you so much for coming on and talking about your platform and the world of truck and tractor pulling. It's an incredible resource for fans of truck and tractor pulling. And for a guy like me, you just opened up a whole new world that I'm excited to learn more about. Please come back on and keep us updated about what's going on with Full Pull Entertainment. And thanks for your time today.
I'll be sure to send you that T-shirt you're going to represent and tell everybody about too. So, yeah, Dave, thanks for having me on, and really enjoyed your time and hope we can visit again.
Absolutely. That'll do it for us this week. We'll see you next time on the Turnpike.